Okay, this is for Jeff. From our experiencers is from Wooden Passenger 8683. In some of his podcasts, Whitley Strieber said that when you personally visited him, this is to Jeff, of course, when you, Jeff, personally visited him, that his grays started interactions with you personally and taught you concerning certain aspects of the concept of time. How was this organized by the beings? That's a loaded question.
Okay. Whitley and I room together. We room together at Esalen, and my joke is don't room with Whitley Strieber. That's always a mistake. Don't do that. Weird things happen around Whitley. He's radioactive, as I joke. There's something different about him, and I think there have always been human beings like that are just different. And the experience he's talking about there, I think, is, one of these events, it was during the middle of the night. Willie gets up in the middle of the night to meditate. I don't know, you probably know that. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, this was actually about midnight, I think. So this was well before that. I was asleep, but there was a part of me that wasn't asleep. So I split into two clearly. I had this distinct memory. And I was this other part of me was witnessing something going on in the room that astonished me. And I remember hearing my voice in my head say, "Oh my god." And it was very distinct, Leslie. It wasn't subtle, but I knew that wasn't me with my eyes looking at the room. That was some other part of me. I knew that instantly, and then when I woke up and I looked at the room, I didn't see anything, of course. There was nothing. I heard a crash, by the way. I assumed that a lamp had been knocked over or that something had fallen. Nothing had fallen, physically anyway. So that this was a splitting of the self that took place in Whitley's presence, and there was definitely something going on in the room that a part of me was witnessing, but it wasn't a part of me that I was aware of or conscious of or could control. I think that's what Willie's talking about there.
And it didn't have to do with the grays per se then, right?
Well, that's how he would talk about them as the visitors, of course. He wouldn't use that language of the Greys. But he's had a lifelong interaction with him, as Jacques mentioned earlier, and I think that's a very genuine and very honest description of what happens.
What year, by the way, was your experience?
What was my experience, Jacques?
What year was it?
Which year?
What year? That was probably 2019 or 2018. I mean, you were likely there. You were likely in another room there. It's one of the seminars we were at. It was in C, where it was SEA, the room in the annex there on off of Murphy House.
Well, as you know, I had an experience that scared me profoundly just a few years ago, and it's related in the book, in the in volume 6. The in I was sleeping, and all of a sudden, I was in another part of the apartment, facing a being, definitely, and that, but it was a block of, you of shadow, really, and I was very close to it, and it wasn't hostile or anything. It was just there, in a place that, um, in an earlier experiment, we had identified as a place for psychic functioning of some sort, or manifesting something, and it was there. And I had forgotten, not exactly forgotten, but I had pushed the earlier experiments out of my life. I was busy with other things, and I was terrified. And I was projected back into my bed, still sleeping. So this was really the first time I had, a true out of body experience I could not control. And it's good that I couldn't control it, because I probably would have gotten lost trying to control it. People talk about how hard it may be to get back into your body. I definitely was. My body was asleep the whole time, and I woke up crying and just terrified. Now, in retrospect, there was nothing terrifying about the the entity. And you told me, Jeff, when I related that to you, that it might be another part of me, and
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that. That's not what we were trying to get to. We were trying to get, again, at a form of communication with a higher level of beings. Now, again, there is no UFO in that story. What makes it different is that I was outside my body and conscious that I was outside my body. And that's what terrified me, not the being itself, engaging in any kind of communication with it.
Yeah, I mean, I get this criticism a lot, and I know it's not a criticism from you, it's just a question. I wanna say it's us, it's some other part of the human being, but people come back, rightfully so, and understandably so, but it's a being, it's an entity, it's external to the human being. I guess my thought there, or my response is, yes, but the human being is the one talking about it. It's still an experience of us. It might be something external to us, it might be an entity, but it's still us talking about that entity or talking about that experience. So, and referred earlier to this single out of body experience I had in Calcutta in 1989, Jacques, and it was it was extensive and extreme, and it involved a kind of subtle energy or a kind of profound presence that either came out of my body or came out of the room, did things to me very physically, and it imploded then into my heart region, and I had this experience of leaving my body, and I was similarly afraid because of that leaving the body, not because of anything I think that was inherent to the experience or to the content of of the event. So I completely understand and accept what you're saying. I just wonder at the end of the day whether it's still us or whether it's, and by us, I don't mean Jeff, I don't mean Jacques, I don't mean Leslie, I don't mean these social egos. I mean some other kind of vastness, some other kind of cosmic presence that is using our bodies as a kind of node or biological place to manifest, as it were. I don't know. I just don't know about that, and there are different answers to that, and certainly in human culture that I think are worth thinking about, and worth talking about. Way more sophisticated than I think most people realize.